Typhoon Solik kills one person in Taiwan and disrupts transportation in parts of southern China. Experts at a Shanghai Print Expo talk about both the upside and downside of so-called 3D printing. And a third Chinese teenager aboard the Asiana flight that crashed a week ago has died. Good evening and welcome to this weekend edition of Shanghai Live, and I'm your host, Zhang Jieying. Typhoon Solik is working its way up the Chinese mainland at this hour after making landfall in southeast China's Fujian province around 4 this afternoon. It had hit Taiwan early this morning, where it killed one person and brought heavy rain and landslides. The storm has also affected transportation between Shanghai and southern parts of the country. Zhang Ningben has more.
The typhoon began affecting Fujian province well before the center of the storm arrived on shore. The outer rain bands were already hitting Fujian at 9 this morning, and the National Meteorological Center issued a wave alert when waves of up to 6 meters were spotted along parts of the Zhejiang and Fujian coast. Here in Shanghai, the refund counter at Hongqiao train station was packed with stranded passengers because all 15 trains to Fuzhou and Xiamen in Fujian province had been cancelled.
I don't know how I will get home. All I can do is get my money back.
All ferry service from Shanghai to Zhejiang's Putuo Mountain and Shensi Islands has also been suspended, and airlines began cancelling flights from Shanghai to parts of southeast China, including Fuzhou and Xiamen yesterday. But airport officials say not many of those passengers showed up at Hongqiao Airport because most had already been informed. In Taiwan, Typhoon Solik killed at least one person and it disrupted transportation and business. Fallen trees and debris blocked several streets in Taipei. Torrential rain buffeted large areas of northern and central Taiwan, with Hsinchu and the reporting county of Miaoli reporting up to 800 millimeters of rain. The military has evacuated 8,000 people from mountain villages considered vulnerable to flash flooding. Zhang Ningben, Shanghai Live.
2 people were killed and 1 was injured when a concrete pumping truck hit 3 vehicles this morning on suburban Chongming Island. The crash happened at around 6 a.m. Witnesses say the truck suddenly went out of control and crashed into an electricity pole before hitting a car, a van, and another truck nearby. Firefighters found 1 man dead at the scene, another died in the hospital, and 1 woman was injured. Police are still investigating whether the truck's brakes malfunctioned before the accident. In recent weeks, we've brought you several reports on promising future of the relatively new technology known as additive manufacturing, better known as 3D printing. But some exhibitors at a printing show in Shanghai this week say making money from it in both the short and long term is a challenge. Our reporter Zhang Jun has the story.
This machine is capable of making almost any plastic shape, from toys to industrial models. It's a Zhejiang province-based private developer who has only been in business for a few months, sells the printers for 5,000 yuan each. That's even cheaper than a conventional printer. But while the company doesn't make a profit, even at that low price, one employee says there's also a downside.
The core technology of our 3D printing was imported from foreign countries. Only after the foreign partner expires can we use and localize the technology at a lower cost to manufacture products for the huge domestic market.
To get around that problem, one local state-run 3D printing company says it has invested 6 million yuan to develop its own technology, which is used to make this replica of a 1,300-year-old grotto in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The manager says that investment accounts for nearly 1/3 of the company's registered capital, but has not yet generated any economic returns.
We didn't think we could make a profit now. Actually, we just expect not to lose too much money. We believe 3D printing is a trend for printing technology development. So through this cultural relics project, We just want to look for a bigger market for the technology.
This year's annual Shanghai Printing Week includes a 3D printing exhibition for the first time, with more than 20 companies involved. And the exhibition organizer warns there could be consequences if the industry develops too fast.
In the United States, 3D printing is called additive manufacturing technology, which is more reasonable. Here in China, many new companies even held their 4D and 5D printing. It takes time for people to understand and accept the technology. If the industry develops blindly, there will be a risk of oversupply.
It's not clear how many new 3D printing companies have started up in the past year. An industry group estimates that the 3D printing market in China could be worth 10 billion yuan by 2016. That would put China ahead of the United States and make it the world's biggest market for both personal and industrial 3D printing applications. But for now, most of the core printing technology remains in the United States and Europe. Zhang Jun, Shanghai Live.
More than 30 students and teachers from Zhejiang province who survived the Asiana crash in San Francisco a week ago are back in China tonight. They landed in Beijing about 3 hours ago and will stay in the capital overnight before heading back to their homes tomorrow. Meanwhile, doctors in San Francisco say a third girl from the group who was badly injured in the crash has died. Mark Lev has more.
Beyond identifying her as another teenage girl from Zhejiang province, doctors at San Francisco General Hospital did not name the girl at her parents' request. They say she had been in critical condition and had had 2 operations after arriving at the hospital.
We've all done everything that we could to take care of this young lady, and unfortunately, as you've just heard, she's passed away.
Before that announcement, the private Christian school in Southern California that had planned to host the Zhejiang group held a prayer vigil for the victims in English and Mandarin.
With the families of Wang Lingjia and Iya Meng Yuman, and the families who survived the devastating airplane crash. With a still, strong voice, we express our deepest love and hope for the future.
More than 30 middle school students from Zhejiang province had planned to spend 3 weeks at the West Valley Youth Summer Camp and live with local families to learn about American culture and improve their English. While the Zhejiang group has returned to China, the Chinese consulate in San Francisco says another group of students from Shanxi province who had been on the Asiana flight will continue with its original plans in the United States. Mark Leff, Shanghai Live.
Russia's top immigration official says U.S. fugitive Edward Snowden has not yet filed an official request for political asylum in Russia, and the foreign minister says his department has had no contact with Snowden. Yesterday, the former U.S. intelligence contractor again attracted hundreds of journalists to Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport, where he met human rights activists, lawyers and lawmakers to talk about asking for asylum in Russia. Song Wenjing reports.
The hundreds of journalists who flocked to the airport were kept in the hallway outside the meeting area, which was behind a grey door marked staff only. But one of the people at the meeting recorded part of it.
I believe that the legal means to stay in Russia safely, to attempt to move to Latin America, is to request asylum in the Russian Federation.
One Russian lawmaker told reporters that the former CIA contractor has accepted the Kremlin's condition that he must stop damaging U.S. interests if he wants to stay in Russia. A few hours after that meeting, U.S. President Barack Obama talked by phone with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. White House spokesman Jay Carney once again called on Russia to hand over Snowden to face charges in the United States. And his counterpart at the State Department also expressed disappointment over Snowden's meeting.
We are disappointed that Russian officials and agencies facilitated this meeting today by allowing these activists and representatives into the Moscow airport's transit zone to meet with Mr. Snowden. despite the government's declarations of Russia's neutrality with respect to Mr. Snowden.
Snowden has apparently been in that Moscow airport transit zone ever since he arrived from Hong Kong on June 23rd. Song Jing, Shanghai Live.
And that's for today's edition of Shanghai Live. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.